Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Breaking news coming out of Israel this evening. We have gotten word that the United Nations has actually passed the resolution to stop or to halt the construction of settlements as it is worded in the occupied territories. It is a slam to the Israeli people as well. Now, not that I am in full favor of just building settlements anywhere, but the thing is if land is available and that land is state government land, there should be the ability for Israel to be able to build, especially if the land is purchased, etc. I do know that there are controversial issues that happen, but in this case here, what is really alarming to me is the fact that the United States did not veto this. They have not allowed for the peace process to do its own initiative there, but instead the Obama administration intentionally, knowing that Donald Trump, president-elect, would have definitely vetoed this bill, has allowed it to pass. The first time in history where a U.S. president has actually not vetoed a resolution that could harm Israel. Now, I say harm Israel. This is the significance, guys, that you may not understand. Again, like I said, as far as building settlements in the West Bank, when we're talking about what is technically called the West Bank, etc., you have to remember, historically, the Resolution 181, the United Nations resolution, was to create two states. Those two states were an Israeli state and an Arabic state. The country Jordan did not exist at that time. That's actually the other state that was being created. The only reason we ended up with the West Bank was because Israel, in an independence war in 1948, lost the territory, what we call the West Bank today, to that of the Jordanians in the war that they fought there, the Arabs there. So the West Bank technically is a Jordanian people. This is what is living there. In the 67 war, Israel took more territory. Again, not being the provocateur in the war, but it was all the Arab nations wanting to push Israel off into the Mediterranean. But they won. Contrary to what most people would have ever thought possible, Israel actually won and took Jerusalem. But of course, in 1993, the resolution, 1993, not the resolution, but 1993, the Oslo Accords, Shimon Peres, the late Shimon Peres, actually handed over East Jerusalem as a prize to the Vatican, allowing the Palestinians to be able to have a state and to give Jerusalem over to Rome. That was actually picked up in a wire that was picked up by the journalists there in Israel at that time. I know Barry Chamish, the late Joel Bainerman as well, both of these who have all since passed away, broke these stories here about how that Israel was being divided and Rome had its hand, so to speak, in the cookie jar, and they were the ones pushing this, especially so that the Vatican could get control of Jerusalem. Well, in the latest move by the United Nations, what Obama has allowed to happen effectively is giving the Wailing Wall of Jerusalem, the entire old city of Jerusalem is being put into the West Bank. It is being given to the PLO. The Jews will lose completely all their rights in the old city. They will lose the Jewish quarter. They will lose the Wailing Wall. It is a major blow to the Israeli people for this UN resolution to be passed in the first place. And it is a slap in the face to President Trump, elect, for Obama to allow this to happen anyway. John Kerry, very much guilty as a part of this, of what's going on in this resolution being passed. According to the article here on RT News, it says Israel will not abide by the UN Security Council's demand for Tel Aviv to halt its settlement activities in the occupied Palestinian land. The office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement, Israel rejects this shameful anti-Israel resolution at the UN and will not abide by its terms. The statement from Prime Minister's office said, according to Reuters, the Obama administration failed to protect Israel against this gang up at the UN, and what is even worse, colluded with it behind the scenes, the statement added. It is unbelievable that this has actually happened, in my words there. In order to negate the harmful effects of this absurd resolution, Israel is looking forward to working with President-elect Trump and with all our friends in Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike. Earlier, the Israeli ambassador to the Council, Danny Danon, slammed the vote as a victory for terror and a victory for hatred and violence. Who gave you the right to issue such a decree, denying our eternal rights in Jerusalem, he added. And you got to realize, Prime Minister Netanyahu, Danny Danon, all those in Israel, my heart goes out to you for this situation, what's happening in Israel as of right now. And I will say, though, a lot of this has been brought upon ourselves. The mere fact that Shimon Peres was able to make this agreement and it got through, allowing the Vatican to be able to control Jerusalem, and the Vatican working in behind the scenes with the Palestinians, and everyone seeming to totally forget Daniel's prophecy in chapter 11, where they come up strong with a small people. That's the Romans, and that's exactly what's happening tonight. It's exactly what's going on. President-elect Donald Trump tried to work with the Egyptians to get them to derail the program. It did not work. It did not happen. Egypt got back on board. They ended up passing this, and it is a shame for what we're seeing tonight. Israel, tonight, effectively, by the UN resolution that has been passed, it's not just about the settlements. It's defining the fact that they cannot build inside what they call the West Bank, Palestinian lands, as it's deemed here. That includes East Jerusalem. That is taking away what Israel is. In fact, I actually lived in a neighborhood that is now considered to be East Jerusalem. Givat Hamivitar is the neighborhood I actually lived in near French Hills, where I went through the suicide bombing at in 2004. I lived right there next to Gershon Solomon, or across the street from Gershon, years ago. And that neighborhood is behind the lines. Look at your 2016 copyrighted Google Maps. You will see the new lines that were drawn. That was put in this year. They knew they were going to do it. It's happening now, and it is a major shame. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. We'll be doing more of a broadcast this weekend on this. I know it's Christmas holidays for most Americans, most people around the world, but I will be touching on this story, and we will be looking at the prophetic biblical ramifications for this story as it's breaking here. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. Erev Tov. And Ein Shalom. There is no peace, not with this type of resolution here. Good evening.